Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and today we are revisiting the NeoAxis engine because they just released version 2021.1. The truth of the matter is, this game engine is improving at an impressive rate. They keep adding an impressive number of new features, as we are going to see today as well. So let's go jump in, take a look at NeoAxis. This is NeoAxis 2021.1, and as you can see, it is a visually impressive engine. This is on Windows platforms. It is free, and we will call this one source available. I guess I can't keep calling things open source-y or open source-ish. And it kind of runs into the same problem that a lot of other game engines do, and that is that it's trying to make money, which, you know, I don't fault it. People want to make money in this day and age, but it's also trying to fit the niche where it can. So they want to offer the source code up, but they want to be able to monetize it, and it's challenging, and I don't honestly know what the answer is. How do you monetize a game engine in this day and age where you have Unreal Engine free to use to up to $1 million, the Unity game engine being definitely more affordable and free up to 100,000 or something like that, and then the Godot game engine out there completely and utterly free. Then we've got Lumberyard, we got CryEngine, and everything else. So where are you going to fit in? What is your niche or strength going to be? And that is increasingly getting to be harder and harder to answer. So they're taking an approach that it's the right step, I think, but definitely the wrong values. But we'll get back to that in just a second. So this, as you've been seeing, is NeoAxis. It's an all-in-one game engine. You can do C# scripting. They have their own visual scripting language as well. Everything is integrated into this editing environment. There are some things with the UI that I would change. I don't like this toolbar approach at the top. It reminds me of Word 2003, and I always hated that UI in Word. I kind of dislike it here as well, but it's a pretty easy fix. Just turn these things into menus like they should have been all along, and you got a pretty nice layout and workflow. Here is one of the new features that we've got in 2021, and you're going to see kind of a great example of the improvements that it's making. What this has added is we go on over here and we now have a world generator component. So you can see it's entirely component-based engine. So you got a number of components that you can add in here. And as you're going to see, components are actually pretty impressive of what they're capable of. But this new one here is the world generator. You can see all of the world in the background. While this allows you to basically procedural. Let's go way up in the sky so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. So here we go. We got a world like so. And what we can do now is, let's pick another seed and generate. And you can see it's going to basically create us a new procedural. All right, was that basically the exact same world? There. So you can procedurally populate your world. Now, there's a couple of other improvements in this system as well. So let's head on back down over here. One of the new things that they've added is a material license. So you've got a number of things added in here. So if you need materials, so like brushed aluminum right here, you can see it there, and you can see a preview of it right there. You use a traditional rendering system in place, so full PBR-based workflow. So their default material library just got really updated. I'll show you how you can grab that in just a second. Another thing that they have done, let me go here and grab a rock, place that in the world. You notice there's this new outline. And in recent versions, the manipulation and scene placement has gotten an improvement, but this one got this outline feature for things being placed in the world. And as you can see, it's pretty nice to work with. It's a decent environment. Those are nice new features. Are definitely cool to have that procedural train generation. It's nice to have a material library out of the box. They also updated their environments, so you can get a number of HDRI maps for your scene. For creating skyboxes like this one here in the background. We've also, and yes, I told you we were going to go ahead and show you how to get those. Those are available here under the add-ons category. So you go on in here, basic materials is that new materials I just showed you there. All of the various different things we saw in here were added this way as well. And then there's these new add-ons that they've added as a way to monetize the engine. Again, it's a step in the right direction. There's their pricing. Need to reanalyze their pricing. So that is how you can add new content in. So here, let's go show you another example in action. Let's go here. This is the classic sci-fi example, kind of showcases the capabilities of this engine itself. As I mentioned earlier on, it does use C# scripting, so there's an editor built directly in right here. The nice thing is you can get full code completion of things in the editor, compiles on the fly. You can also have it open up in Visual Studio using a solution file if you wish. There's also even this nice little inline code editor. So you see right here, I can go ahead over here and I can plop this down and I can edit the code right there. Another neat thing is if you find, I'm not sure which guy this actually is, but if you find a guy with a script attached, let me see if I can find one that actually has a script attached. Maybe one of these. Let's see if any of these have scripts. Nope. Okay, I'm not sure who has the script on it. Here, let's go over look at the 2D example, because it's got an obvious example. So you see here, there's this regulator switch, which, by the way, it can do 2D as well. So this has a C# script attached to it. You're going to notice here, if I expand down, we see each of the C# scripts attached. So here's one for value change or update event, or I can grab this guy right here, go to the little lightning bolt here, and you can see the things that you can override, all of the methods that are available. And then this one, for example, they've implemented the update event. We can click there, and we can open up that script directly. So there's that script preview of it over here, or we can, I think, get it over here. So you've got a fully integrated C# editing experience. There's also a visual code editor. I don't think too many people are going to use it, but it's definitely there in an option. So here we can see from the scenes, it's an impressively nice looking engine, and you can do some really neat effects. So everything here is component based. You probably saw that when we're kind of going through. So here we can add and create a number of different components. We want to add physics to something, for example, right here. Or we don't want to go ahead and just create a polygonal object in space. You can do so right here. On the topic of polygonal objects, you actually have a full 3D tool in here. So you can do white boxing or level layout or so on. So you can model directly inside of the editor. That is kind of the idea here. For example, let's go here to the rendering pipeline, and I'll show you one of the things that you can do here. So we've got a number of different scene effects in. And let's go ahead and we'll add a new one. So new object, scene effects, and let's just make this pixely. So there, pixelate filter on the scene. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool engine. It's got a lot of cool capabilities. It's just got the classic problem of how do you sell an engine in this day and age, and there's no easy answer to that, unfortunately. And it is a shame because, again, there's a comprehensive set of tools in here. Let me go over here. I can go over to the train. We've got train tools, so we can go ahead and raise and lower the earth, texture things, smooth things out, painting. We got material layers in here that we can paint and draw with. There is a lot of functionality packed into this engine. We do have the 2D functionality that has been added to over time as well. And then today, again in 2020.1, that new major feature is this dynamic world generator. The outline here for the, I'm still in editing mode, the outline here for selecting things. And then we've got those additional environment maps and material maps and so on. And then we get to the not so good part of this release. Let's go back here again to the windows. Again, this should all just be normal drop-down menu windows. There is no value in this use of my screen real estate. It's my feedback anyways. But here we go here to the store, and we're going to see they've got these new add-ons and extensions, which I think is a good way to go. I think that is a good way to monetize a commercial open engine, is to have add-ons for it or tutorials for it or custom content for it that you sell. I'm fine with that 100%. It's just fence constructor, $500. Pipe constructor, $500. Industrial kit, $2,500. Road constructor, $500. I just think that those prices, you kind of run into a problem here. You're either going to make money off whales like they do in mobile games. If you don't know what a whale is basically the handful of people that pay a huge amount of money, or what you need to have is a game or an engine in this case that has a larger community that you can get by with smaller transactions from. And to be honest, at these prices, I don't. For, let's say, if I was working as an industrial engineer and I needed to do real-world simulation environments, I would go with Unigine. And at the commercial prices, Unigine has more of this stuff built in for a cheaper price. So there's the thing. I like the idea of trying to monetize your engine this way, but I would do it more at the a tenth of these price, maybe even lower, because again, you're already in the world where you are competing with Unreal, Unity, and so on, and I don't know how a small engine does that. I can understand the pain that they're in. There's definitely a challenge in trying to monetize a game engine in this day and age, and I don't know the answers there, but I think that those pricing is just not going to work. But otherwise, for you guys, for the most part, none of that stuff is actually required. There is a comprehensive, full-blown, it's got 64-bit precision, so if you want to make really large worlds, you can. You have that new procedural generator in there. There's a lot to like in this engine. It's just there's a lot of other engines out there, and that's a classic problem here. So we got back to the release 2021.1. The Forest template was added, so it's a demo level with a world generator in it. But the big thing is that new world generator component for automatically seeding and creating worlds. There was improvements to the rendering pipeline speeds. The outline effect was added on selected objects. The basic material library was updated. The environment library was updated, so it's now got 27 skyboxes, whereas the material library has 206 materials. Better lighting, which is always good. Curves in space were improved. They removed texture tiling, and then we get into the 4 paid add-ons, which, you know, they're good. They're good examples of what I think they should commercialize with. It's just the pricing just doesn't work. I think they're going in the right direction as an idea for monetization, but I don't get it for the pricing. There is that. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, it is open source-ish, so it's source available. The source code is up on GitHub. You can see here it is solution-based, and we're going to go in here. I believe that the majority of the code is C++, but I don't want to, yeah. So a lot of it is C++. Oh, I guess I could have just used the feature of here and had it tell me. So it's 94.3% C#, and then 4.7% C++. So it looks like the underlying engine is C++, and the editor and tools on top all seem to be C#. So the source is out there. Now the next challenge comes into is they use their own license. And this was something I talked about on the Game From Scratch Discord recently with a couple of viewers there, which, by the way, check it out. Links down below. Great community. But we were talking about custom open source licenses. And we don't really have an issue with them per se. They make sense in some cases. But we just saw it with the last engine. The Falco engine had its own... No, was it the Falco engine? No, it was another engine, but it had its own proprietary open source license. And then you kind of like, do I trust this license? Does it make any sense? And then we had things like the Default engine, which has its own forked version of a commercial license. But the thing is, the Default engine, they used a lawyer. Whereas a lot of times these guys are trying to make these engines themselves, and you don't know if it was written well, and the engine can be like make or break for if you should use it or not. I'm not even going to try and dissect the license here. I'm just going to let you know they have a proprietary license, and be sure to read it before you jump into the source code. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to give you advice there, but it would really be nice if there was a standardized, commercialized open source license. It basically just said, here you can use this, but you can't make a derived work in the same genre. So they basically say, our game engine source is available, make a game with it, open source however you want. You just can't make another commercial game engine out of it. There should be a license like that. It seems like such a common thing people want, but it doesn't seem to have any kind of a license for it. So that's why you always end up with these proprietary licenses that are basically trying to prevent commercialized forks of their open source project. And then it always leads into these stupid minefields where you have these weird conditions. But another thing that people are really not going to like, if you go into the NeoAxis licensing, they do force you to have their made with NeoAxis somewhere in the game. Now, it can be, I think, just in the credits. You don't have to start with it or anything. With the product information and in its credit. So if you make a NeoAxis game, it looks like if you ship it, you have to say like on Steam that it was made with NeoAxis, I guess, and somewhere in the credits. I don't like this, because if you force attribution, you're going to have attribution on bad games and good games. You're going to want people to volunteer in for attribution, because then it highlights your thing in a better world. This is the reason why Unity ultimately removed the splash screen, because it made them look bad more so than it made the games that shipped with Unity look bad. And it gave Unity a bad reputation for years and years and years that they've struggled to get away from. So I've never liked forced attribution, but it's in there. So anyways, that is NeoAxis 2020.1. In summary, it's an interesting and good engine that's just struggling to monetize, and I get it, and I don't have an easy solution. Maybe you do. Let me know. Comments down below. Talk to you all later.